Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit, where pole position can often be decided by less than a tenth of a second. It's a tricky circuit to tackle in wet conditions, with top speed still of critical importance down the long back straight. There are 2.7 miles and 14 corners overall on a circuit that in the dry can see average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour. We'll be lucky to get anywhere near that today. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. And judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Rodriguez, Sainz and Pierre Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda and Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Ocon, George Russell and Mick Schumacher, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going. Somewhere on the ICE, be aware that we will start to see a loss of power. You are in first position, front of the pack. Bottas is behind you. They're on fresh inters. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. 2 laps left. Next time by will be your final lap. You're leading the pack. P1, Bottas behind. The gap to the car behind is 2.0 seconds. They're on fresh inters. This is your final lap of the race. That's a race win. You've really been great today.
They take the checkered flag then here in Canada in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
I can see them on their way out to the podium now. Aston Martin are really making waves in this sport, and what a special race it was to see them earn the top spot. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Rodriguez increases their championship lead. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
I have to give it to Rodriguez. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
Let's move on to the Constructors. Aston Martin move up to the top of the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
an exciting race from our perspective. Let's have yours. How are you feeling after that win? You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you? How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? That was an epic battle today. How do you think this will play out? Great. Well, that's everything.